I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey, what's poppin', my homies? Hope you're doing well, feeling blessed, having a good day, having a good week. This one's going to be Cannonier versus Borralho. A phenomenal main event. However, guys, looking at last week's bets, looking at UFC 305, and also the Contender, I made some nice profit. Again, we're now 4-0 on the Contender. Week 1, 2 bets, 2 wins. Week 2, 2 bets, 2 wins. We're now 4-0 on the Contender. And we're also on a 5-event betting win streak. So 5 events in a row, 5 wins in a row. Now, can we make it 6? Can we get to Saturday where Cannonier and Borralho, this UFC event's going to go down? Can we make it 6? And guys, I actually may do a cross-promotion parlay. PFL and UFC this week. I may do that. So if you've got a MoneyCity membership on the Patreon, look out for that post. We may do that. You know, parlay someone on the UFC and on the PFL. Get a nice ticket on the go. Get some more money. But yeah, look out for that. Now, looking at my bets for UFC 305, we had Caio nil, plus 130, cash money. We also had, who else did we have? We had Dricus Duplessis, plus money. So both my plus money tickets, hey, pure money, pure money. But guys, my biggest bet, that was a loser. And I still made profit. So when the biggest bet loses and you still make profit, that's when you know. That's when you know. Okay, we're in good form. We're in good form. I'm losing my biggest bet and I'm still beating the bookie. Okay, let's go. And looking at the Contender, 2-0. 2-0, so let's go. Alright guys, looking at the MoneyCity Champions. And the MoneyCity Champions, so many of you guys had Urseg, just like me. So many of you had Gamrot. Come on now. But there was some winners. There was some MoneyCity Champions. And I'm going to spark the blunt for the MoneyCity Champions. Because guys, if I don't spark up, if there's no smoke break, you guys go to the comments and you let me know. Where's the smoke break? Where's the blunt? Ah, get stoned. Get stoned. If you see your name on the screen, you already know. That's money. Let's go. Now guys, first matchup on the card, we've got Wang taking on Victoria Leonardo. And guys, Victoria Leonardo, in my opinion, she's not that good. And by the way, I always say, in my opinion, I always say that. And someone told me that in the comment section last week. And I've started the breakdown with that. But yeah, it's my opinion. We know that. We know it's my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I'm the only one talking. So yeah, I've got to stop saying that. When it comes to Wang, this girl's got a win over Valentin Shevchenko. And her boxing is just so good. So this one does seem like a mismatch. You know, the fight's going to start. Wang Chong's going to box her up, potentially get her to the mat, potentially dust her up on the mat. How does Victoria Leonardo win this fight? Guys, just thinking about ways that Victoria Leonardo could win this fight. Just thinking about ways she could win. There's not any way. There's not any way. What does she do? Push Chong against the fence? Sniff her armpits for 15 minutes? You know, how does she win the fight? She's going to get boxed up. Then she's going to shoot, potentially fail on a takedown. Chong gets on top, dusts her up. Yeah, easy pick, easy pick. Give me Chong. Now moving into the next fight, we've got Josiane Nunes taking on Jacqueline Cavalcanti. And Jacqueline Cavalcanti, if you look at her last fight, look at her fight against Zara Fern. Because both girls fought Zara Fern. If you look at her performance there, you're seeing the footwork. You're seeing the non-stop footwork, you know, constantly circling the octagon. And she makes that a part of her performance. You know what I'm saying? Always light on the feet, always moving the feet. Whereas if you look at Josiane Nunes against Zara Fern, this wasn't, you know, the same performance. You know, she's just walking forward against Zara Fern. Where Cavalcanti is more, you know, bring the opponent to me. Let the opponent try to chase me down. Let the opponent try to be aggressive. And I'm going to stay active with the footwork, you know, constantly moving in the octagon. Constantly being a moving target so the opponent can't find the target. That's Jacqueline Cavalcanti. And against someone like Josiane Nunes, because, guys, Josiane Nunes, she may be like 5'1". She may be like 5 foot. But the girl is very aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Super, super aggressive. But against someone like that, if you could be constantly moving your feet, constantly staying elusive, right? If you're doing that, then Josiane Nunes, yes, she's got the power. Yes, she's throwing. Yes, she's being more aggressive. And to some people, she may have the octagon control. But is she going to be missing strikes? Is she going to be throwing big overhands, big hooks? and it's catching nothing but air. And guys, if that's the case, then we've got to credit the footwork and elusiveness of Jacqueline Cavalcanti. You know, stay light on the feet, stay active, constantly move your feet. And that's where, you know, Josiane Nunes, she's not going to be finding a target. She is going to be throwing. She is going to be walking forward. But it's for Cavalcanti to show, look, my feet are good. I'm moving the feet. My defense is on point. And every time you throw, there's a right-hand counter. So, yeah, I like the footwork. I like the defense. And some people may say, look, Jacqueline Cavalcanti, it's boring. It's boring. Let's fight. But yeah, I like the defense. Give me Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Now moving into a matchup between Jose Medina taking on Reese. And guys, Jose Medina, this guy got signed on the Contender. But guys, his performance, it wasn't a signing based on, you know, this guy looks so good. This guy put on a really good performance, you know. This guy's the next prospect. It wasn't one of those. When you look at Jose Medina, it was more, you know, he got dominated all fight, stayed in the fight and impressed Dana White just based on, you know, the guy's heart and will, his willingness to not give up. That was Jose Medina. I do respect that. You know, Dana White saw that performance. He saw the heart and will. He saw that, you know, the dude didn't give up. You know, from round one to the final round, he's fighting. He's fighting, you know what I'm saying? Yes, he's getting dominated. Yes, he's getting dusted up, right? But he stays in the fight. He shows his heart and determination. Now, guys, the problem's this. In the UFC, you do need a level of toughness. You do need some durability. You do need, you know, heart and will. You do need that. But you also need skill. You also need to impose your will. You also need to, you know, break down the opponent. Because if you don't break down the opponent, you're the one getting dusted. You're the one getting broken down. So it's one of those. It's one of those. Now, guys, Reese, this guy's getting round one stoppages. So, guys, if he doesn't get a round one stoppage, does Medina show his heart and will? Does Medina start to break down Reese after getting dusted in round one? That's maybe what, you know, Dana White's thinking, signing Jose Medina. So, guys, Medina should make this fight fun. You know, he's very scrappy. He's very tough. He should make the fight fun just based on, you know, he's going to stay in the fight. If you're dusting him up in round one, he's going to stay in the fight. If you're still dominating him, still dusting him up in round two, he stays in the fight. He's a scrapper. You know, toughness for days. But I don't see the skill. I don't see the skill of Medina. I see Reese, you know, getting round one stoppages, dusting up Julian Marquez. I see Reese more skillful, more violent, you know, more likely to stop the fight. Whereas Medina's more likely to show, look, this is what toughness is. You know, you're getting beaten up, you're staying in the fight. This is how you know, display toughness. I don't see him displaying skill. I don't see him displaying, you know, killer instinct. Maybe if Reese slows down past round one, maybe, right? But for the most part, I do see Reese more skillful, more intentful, more violent, and more likely to dust up Medina. So yeah, Reese, that's the pick. Now guys, moving into a matchup between Slava Claus taking on James Llontop. And guys, this is phenomenal. This is phenomenal. Now guys, can we start with Slava? Because looking at Slava against Chase Hooper, he got dropped. When that fight starts, he gets dropped by Chase Hooper. Now, as we know, Chase Hooper is a pure jiu-jitsu player. His jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. His striking is just abysmal. It's terrible. But he's able to drop Slava. And the reason why he dropped Slava is not because, you know, Slava's slowing down, becoming defensively bad. It's none of that. It's purely because Slava's thinking about jiu-jitsu. Slava's thinking about wrestling, going to the mat. And as he's thinking about that, you know, disregarding the striking of Chase Hooper, as you should. As you should. Who wouldn't, right? As he's disregarding that, the overhand right comes and it lands and it drops down Slava. So, you know, when we're looking at this matchup here against James Llontop has much better striking than Chase Hooper. Way better. But guys, because he's not got the grappling threat, the takedown threat that Chase Hooper has, because he's not got that, now you're going to see a very, very difficult fight for James Llontop. Because, guys, Slava is anticipating the striking of James Llontop. He didn't anticipate the striking of Chase Hooper. Who would? Who would? Nobody would, right? And that's what allowed Chase Hooper to essentially knock down Slava. It was, you know, you're thinking about the grappling, you're thinking about jiu-jitsu, you want to stay on the feet, and then boom, Chase Hooper does something that he's never going to do again. Or maybe he does. Maybe he does. But guys, what you've got here this time round is James Llontop. He wants to stay on the feet. He wants to box. He wants to use his inside calf kicks, outside calf kicks. He wants to, you know, stand and bang. And so does Slava. Guys, Slava has always wanted to stand and show his, you know, his phenomenal experience kickboxing. He's always wanted to do that. And every time he does, we always get to see a phenomenal striking display from Slava. Only when the opponent has jiu-jitsu and wrestling do we see the weaknesses of Slava exposed in the mixed martial arts world. And it is mixed martial arts. It's not kickboxing. You do have to have grappling. You do have to have jiu-jitsu, wrestling. Because if you don't, and the opponent does, then we see, you know, we see the consequences. But in this fight here, this time round, like I've mentioned, you've got a stand-up fight. You've got James Llontop, who wants to stand and trade, and you've got Slava, who wants the same thing, and you're going to get that. You're going to get that in this fight. Guys, I'm actually going to take the big underdog, James Llontop. That's the pick. Now moving into a matchup between Francis Marshall taking on who we got. We've got Dennis Buzukja. And Dennis Buzukja was originally supposed to take on Danny Silva. And that would have been a scrap. That would have been a real scrap. However, Francis Marshall now gets the fight on short notice. Now guys, Francis Marshall in his last fight, he got dusted. And that's, you know, the Midwest chopper, Isaac Dolgarian. The guy will do that. The guy will wrestle the opponent, get the opponent to the mat, and smash the opponent on the mat. That's exactly what happened to Francis Marshall. Now, guys, the opponent this time round, Dennis Buzukja, doesn't impose the same threats that Isaac Dolgarian imposed against Francis Marshall. Dennis Buzukja doesn't want to wrestle the opponent. Dennis Buzukja doesn't want to get the opponent to the mat and start to ground and pound the opponent. Dennis Buzukja's not about that. Dennis Buzukja would rather stay on the feet and try to bazooka the opponent. You know what I'm saying? Use the Muay Thai, kick the opponent, land the hooks, you know, step into the hooks. And guys, just to compare the striking on Francis Marshall to Dennis Buzukja, I don't think, you know, Francis Marshall is terrible on the feet. I don't think he's terrible. But guys, I do believe, you know, Dennis Buzukja, he's more clean with it. You know, more likely to bazooka the opponent. The kicks, you know, the way the kicks start to flow. When Dennis Buzukja finds his flow, you know, that's when the hooks start to arrive. I do believe his striking is better than Francis Marshall's. Now, the chin durability, the dusty jaw of Dennis Buzukja, that is a thing. That is a thing, you know. Going back to his fight against Jamal Emmers, that was a mismatch. Also going back to his fight against Sean Woodson, that was also a mismatch. The UFC kind of done Dennis Buzukja dirty with those matchups. But then again, as Dana White says, there's no easy fights in the UFC. There's no easy fights. That's kind of true. But then again, there kind of is. Because Jared Vanderaa, he was a thing. But yeah, guys, my prediction with this matchup, I'm going to side with Dennis Buzukja because, you know, he's more prepared. He was going to take on Danny Silva. And Danny Silva, that guy's a slick boxer. A really slick boxer. Whereas Francis Marshall, not really on the same level as, you know, Danny Silva when it comes to boxing. So yeah, in my opinion, give me Dennis Buzukja. If you waited to smoke with me, amen. If you've been smoking this whole time, double amen. If you're not a smoker but you enjoy the smoke breaks, that's always been a triple amen gang. Let's go. Now, not every week do we do a smoke break, but guys, I got a nice question on my Instagram and the brother said, hey yo Lay, please give your opinion on how that title fight went until the sub during this week's smoke break. So shout out to 3200 Band, shout out to that brother. And in all fairness, you know, Israel Adesanya, he looked good, man. He looked very good. And I'm someone that bet Dricus du Plessis. And I mentioned it. I must have mentioned it like 100 times in my Discord. And even as the fight's playing out, I'm still mentioning it. I'm still saying it. Look, Dricus du Plessis, get this fight to the ground. Get this fight to the mat. You're not going to stand with Adesanya. You're not going to do that. And some people may say, well, Dricus du Plessis, he did stand with Adesanya. You know, he was standing with Adesanya. He was having his moments, you know, finding some big punches here and there on the feet against Izzy. And that is true. You know, he was standing with Izzy for the most part. But guys, I wasn't enjoying that, you know, with a bet on Dricus du Plessis. I wasn't enjoying it. And that's because Adesanya, as we mentioned, his striking on the feet, it was phenomenal. He was so clean, so technically sharp. Now, is he in his prime? No. Is he still one of the best based on that performance? And he did lose. He lost that fight. But on the feet, Adesanya, I was impressed. I was so impressed. So to answer the question, I was impressed with Izzy. I was impressed. And I actually had Israel Adesanya up 2-1. I had him up 2-1. And I was just praying, you know, get him to the mat. Get Izzy to the mat, man. You're not going to win this fight. You're not going to defend your title staying on the feet. I was impressed. I was impressed with Izzy, man. I thought he was winning most of that fight. But yeah, at some point, Dricus decided, I'm the champion. I am the champion. And I'm going to get you to the mat. And when I do, it's get dusted. Alright guys, let's go. Now moving into a matchup between Edmen Shahbazyan taking on GM3, Gerald Meerschaert. And guys, in my opinion, Gerald Meerschaert, he's the American Paul Craig. You know what I'm saying? This guy's got excellent jiu-jitsu. But what else? What else? He's going to throw the body kick. And the body kick, you know, it's okay. But he's got nothing else. His boxing's not great. His defense is bad. His cardio's dusty. The wrestling is, you know, dusty. He really is the American version of Paul Craig. Now, when it comes to Edmen Shahbazyan, this guy's got potential. He's got a lot of potential. But he's also got, in my opinion, I'm no doctor. But it looks to me that he's got inverted ribs. And guys, inverted ribs, it gives you awful cardio. And we do see that with Edmen Shahbazyan. You know, the cardio is just, it's pure dust. The moment Edmen Shahbazyan gets tired, it's like his potential just, you know, evaporates. It's like his current ability evaporates. And there's an old saying that, you know, fatigue will make a coward out of anyone. That's true. That's true. Ask a lot of fighters, you know, what's their biggest fear? A lot of them will tell you, look, my biggest fear is getting tired in a fight and my opponent's not tired. Because when that happens, it's like, you know, you're going to lose the fight. If the opponent's smart, if the opponent sees that you're, you know, getting tired, the opponent will smell blood, especially if the opponent has, you know, killer instinct. But guys, GM3, as I've mentioned, he is the American version of Paul Craig. What else does he have? He's got jiu-jitsu. Okay. Does he have boxing? No. Does he have Muay Thai? Slick Muay Thai. Violent Muay Thai? No. Does he have amazing wrestling? You know, bring the opponent to the mat. Drown the opponent? No. He's got the experience. He's also got the jiu-jitsu. But he doesn't have the boxing. He doesn't have the speed, the defense, you know, the footwork, the movement. He doesn't have many things that you do need in the fight. He's got experience. He's got jiu-jitsu. And guys, to make Edmen tired, you do have to have a certain level of pace, a certain level of pressure. You know, Anthony Hernandez, that guy had an unbelievable pace, an unbelievable pressure to really impose on the opponent. Does GM3 have that? No, he doesn't. He's going to get tired. He's going to be, you know, backpedaling, you know, walking backwards with his chin in the air. And he just doesn't have the tools to really beat Edmen Shahbazyan. He does have the experience. He does have the jiu-jitsu. And if Edmen gets tired and GM3 takes his back, then of course, right? But it's getting the back. It's finding the back. It's about breaking down Edmen. If you don't have the pace and pressure, if you don't have the boxing, if you don't have slick Muay Thai, you know, you can't get Edmen against the fence. Start to bully him against the fence in the clinch. If there's things you can't do against Edmen, then more than likely the golden boy, Edmen Shahbazyan, he will shine. He will shine. You know, he'll find the right timings to land the head kick, to land the body kick, to, you know, slip back and counter with the boxing. Edmen Shahbazyan, in my opinion, he should win this fight. So give me Edmen as the pick. Now guys, moving into a matchup here between Michael Morales taking on Neil Magny. And we don't really need to spend too much time on this fight. As we know, there's a big age gap in this fight. We've got Michael Morales, who's an absolute prospect, against Neil Magny, who's, you know, a veteran, very experienced. But he's not going to have, you know, a good performance against Michael Morales. How do you win this fight if you're Neil Magny? If you're Neil Magny, how do you win this fight? You don't win this fight. You don't. You get dusted in this fight. Give me Michael Morales. But obviously when it comes to betting, he's minus 900. You know what I'm saying? So no bets on Michael Morales. And, you know, even when it comes to, you know, betting on inside the distance, you don't want to do that. Because Tom Nolan was like a minus 1,000 to stop Alex Reyes. He didn't. And the decision prop cashes at like plus 800, something crazy like that. So if you're someone that's going to bet on Michael Morales, maybe you bet Neil Magny to get dusted, but also to survive 15 minutes. Maybe. But for me personally, yeah, I'll just let you know that Michael Morales does win the matchup, but there's no bets. There's no bets. Now, guys, moving into a matchup here between Ryan Loder taking on Robert Valentin. And I don't know a whole lot about Ryan Loder or Robert Valentin, but I have done a little bit of tape. And guys, looking at the tape on Robert Valentin compared to Ryan Loder, I was way more impressed with Robert Valentin than Ryan Loder. Ryan Loder's more of a wrestler. You know, his striking's okay, but nothing special. When I looked at Robert Valentin, I was impressed. I was very, very impressed. You know, the current ability of Robert Valentin is very decent, but also the potential. I see real potential in Robert Valentin. You know, his striking's good, his grappling, his ground and pound, his submission game. It's all very, very decent for Valentin. And based on that, just based on, you know, looking at both guys on tape and seeing a difference I'm going to make a pick here on Robert Valentin. Robert Valentin to go in there and to essentially dust up Ryan Loder. That's the pick. Now, guys, moving into the co-main event, we've got Angie Hill, the veteran, right? Angie Hill. Everyone loves Angela Hill. Who doesn't love Angie Hill? She's got output for days, you know, cardio for days. Her grappling has improved massively over the last few years. Angela Hill's a veteran's veteran. You know, everyone loves Angie. However, she's got a very decent fight here, a very decent opponent in Tabatha Ricci, Baby Shark. And Baby Shark, her jiu-jitsu, her judo. Guys, Tabatha Ricci's grappling, it's at a phenomenal level. You know, her judo, her jiu-jitsu, the ability to throw the opponent through the air and take the opponent to the mat. You know, her grappling level, it's at a very decent level. Now, that's not what we're doing here. You know, this isn't a jiu-jitsu match, a grappling match. This is mixed martial arts. So, for Angela Hill to win this fight, staying away from the clinch, staying away from the fence, staying away from the mat, staying away from the judo and jiu-jitsu of Tabatha Ricci, those are going to be important things to do against someone, you know, with the grappling of Tabatha Ricci. Now, if you're Angela Hill, you're going to say to Tabatha Ricci, look, if you want to take me to the mat, if you want to find my back, if you want to make this more about jiu-jitsu and judo, then go ahead. You know, try and do that. I've got so much experience. I've improved so much over the years. My grappling has got so much better than what it was, say, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Because, guys, if you give Tabatha Ricci an attempt to throw the opponent, if you clinch up and Tabatha Ricci can see that hip toss, you know, she's going to execute. She's going to do that. And Tecia Torres, by the way, Tecia Torres done a phenomenal job at stopping Tabatha Ricci from imposing her jiu-jitsu, imposing her judo, her grappling. She done a phenomenal job at, you know, keeping Tabatha Ricci away from that. Now, can Angela Hill do the same thing? Can Angela Hill go into this fight and show Tabatha Ricci, look, you're not experienced enough. You're not good enough to get the clinch. You can't get me to the mat. You can't find the back of Angela Hill. Guys, in all fairness, it is women's mixed martial arts. But guys, let's be fair. This is a good fight. It's a good fight. We've got Angela Hill, so much experience, you know, Muay Thai, the improvements in the grappling, the defensive wrestling, the get-ups, and also getting a mounted guillotine against Pinheiro. You know what I'm saying? She's even getting mounted guillotines. You know, she's improved, man. She's so improved. But guys, Tabatha Ricci, I also think on the feet, there is improvements. There's definitely improvements. And you kind of see defensive mistakes against Tecia. You know, Ticia's, you know, letting her run into the jab, letting her run into these strikes on the feet. But I still see some slight improvements. But to beat Angela Hill, you know, you've got to grapple. You can't strike with Angie. If you're Tabatha Ricci, you're not staying on the feet. You know what I'm saying? Get the clinch, get the opponent to the mat, take the opponent's back, and win the fight with your grappling. Win with your judo, your jiu-jitsu. Take the opponent to the mat. Impose your grappling. Give me Baby Shark. Give me Tabatha Ricci. Now, moving into the main event, we've got Cannonier, a veteran, taking on Caio Borralho. And this is, you know, this is phenomenal. Another main event, another phenomenal main event by the UFC. And this is, you know, it's worth watching. It's very much worth watching. And if you're someone like me that's been watching Caio Borralho, this guy's the real deal. This guy's got phenomenal jiu-jitsu. He's big for the weight class. He's physically strong. You know, looking at his takedowns, when Caio Borralho shoots a takedown, he drives. You know, he drives through the opponent. And that's what you want to do, right? If I shoot a takedown, I'm not going to stop when you start to move backwards. I'm not going to stop when there's first contact. I'm going to drive through the opponent, get the opponent to the mat, you know, be physically strong. And that's something that, you know, Paul Craig, he can't do. And I mentioned Paul Craig because, you know, when you've got a phenomenal jiu-jitsu player like Caio Borralho, you want to be able to get the opponent to the mat. Because if you've got phenomenal jiu-jitsu and you can't get the opponent to the mat, then it kind of doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. So you need the takedowns. And you do have that with Caio. You know, his takedowns are, like I say, he'll drive through the opponent. And we've seen that more than once. We've seen that time and time again with the Brazilian Caio Borralho. And he's also fighting out of Fighting Nerds. Everyone's favourite camp right now. And that's because Fighting Nerds, you know, showing us, look, these are the game plans that we have for the opponent. We understand that to win these fights, we want to look for the path of least resistance. And once we find that path to least resistance, we're going to drill that. We're going to train for that day in, day out. And once we show up on that Saturday night, when the bright lights are shining, we're going to show you, you know, this is the game plan for the opponent. And guys, in my opinion, Caio Borralho, he is getting better. You know, very, very good. Very skillful already. His jiu-jitsu, the teep kick on the feet, the takedowns. As I've mentioned, he'll drive. He'll drive through the opponent to get the opponent to the mat where he can impose his jiu-jitsu. His jiu-jitsu is at a phenomenal level. You know, this guy's the real deal. But guys, does Caio Borralho have the experience and the cardio for an extra 10 minutes against someone that's so experienced like Cannonier? That's my question. So guys, that's my question to you. Does Caio Borralho have the experience and the cardio to really be effective in those extra 10 minutes, right? This isn't 15 minutes, it's 25 minutes. We've got an extremely experienced opponent here in Cannonier, you know, and I'm someone that bet on Nassourdine Imavov against Cannonier. And, you know, looking at that performance from Cannonier, I was very shocked. You know, some people that bet on Cannonier, they were saying, you know, early stoppage, Cannonier done well. And, you know, I can only disagree. In my opinion, Cannonier, he was trying to, you know, push Imavov against the fence, keep him against the fence. There's no real damage against the fence. And it was a performance where I'm watching it thinking, this isn't it. This isn't it for Cannonier. You look at Cannonier against Marvin Vettori, he sets a record. He sets a record for most punches in a main event. He looked phenomenal. You know, the output. You know, it was a phenomenal performance. But then you look at him against Nassourdine Imavov, and it's, you know, where's the output? Where's the accuracy? Where's the danger on the feet? There was none of that. Instead, he wants to push the opponent against the fence, hold him against the fence, but there's no damage against the fence. So are you going to do that against Caio Borralho? You know, are you going to attempt to out-grapple and, you know, essentially dust up Caio Borralho against the fence? Because that's not the game plan. That should not be the plan. And guys, thinking back to Cannonier against Nassourdine Imavov, the game plan for Jared, you know, push him against the fence, hold him against the fence. The only logical way I can explain that game plan, the only way I can explain it is Cannonier didn't like what he was seeing on the feet from Nassourdine Imavov. Because guys, as we know, Nassourdine is so slick. He's a sniper, right? Very light on the feet. He's a sniper on the feet. And Cannonier, he must have, you know, seen that and thought, you know what, let's push you against the fence, let's put some blood in your arms, you know, take away a bit of the pop, take away a bit of the speed. And maybe, you know, that was the game plan for Cannonier. He saw how slick he was on the feet, and he's thinking, okay, 25 minutes, I'm going to get you tired in round 1, get you tired in round 2. But it kind of backfired. Because, guys, Cannonier is the one that slows down. Cannonier is the one that becomes hittable in the fight, and Nassourdine snipes him. He starts to snipe the opponent. And even against the fence, right? Nassourdine's landing some nice knees, some nice elbows against the fence. So Cannonier against Nassourdine, in my opinion, awful performance. Now, against Caio Borralho, staying off the mat, yes, you got to do that, stay off the mat. And also, kind of bide your time. Bide your time like you tried to do that against Nassourdine. Because, guys, against Caio Borralho, this guy hasn't got the same sniper-like style on the feet. You know, this guy is a jiu-jitsu player before anything else. Yes, he's got power in his hands. Yes, he's got a good teep kick. But he is a jiu-jitsu player before anything else. Whereas Nassourdine, this guy's a sniper before anything else. You know, he doesn't want to be against the fence. He wants to be, you know, flowing on the feet, similar to a Cyril Gane. Whereas Caio Borralho, yes, he may stand on the feet a little bit, but let's be honest. The guy wants you on the mat. The guy wants to impose his jiu-jitsu. Now, if you're Cannonier, if you can avoid the mat, if you can stay in the fight, if Caio starts to slow down, you may teach him a lesson. You may do that. Now, guys, we also have to acknowledge that Cannonier, he is 40. He is getting older. And as I mentioned against Nassourdine Imavov, the cardio kind of turned to dust. It turned dusty. And against someone like Caio Borralho, someone that's in, you know, beautiful form, beautiful teep kick, beautiful jiu-jitsu, he drives, he gets the opponent to the mat. The only way that Caio Borralho is going to lose this fight, the only way is after 10 minutes, if he's tired, then he may lose. He may lose. Guys, I'm going to side with Caio Borralho, but I may change my mind. If I see Cannonier get to like plus 200, if I see this betting line start to go crazy, you know, I may change my mind. If Cannonier is still there after 10 and Caio Borralho starts to slow down, those extra 10 minutes, man, is something you've really got to think about with this fight. Caio Borralho, this isn't 15 minutes. This is 25 minutes. You've got to be prepared. And I'm sure he will be. But guys, even sometimes when you prepare, you still come up short. That happens sometimes. It happens. Guys, I'm going to side with Caio. But like I mentioned, I might change my mind, man. I might. It's a tough main event. And anyone that bet on Jared Cannonier against Nasruddin, if you're going to completely fade Jared Cannonier now, he might let you know. He might. We'll see. As always, guys, drop down your Money City bets, your parlays, your doubles, your single bets, all that good stuff. Drop in the comment section below. Let me know you're taking in the main event, the co-main event, all that good stuff. Drop in the comment section below. And as always, keep your eyes to the sky and never glued to your shoes. Peace.